Praying over my faces all day. I'm like, no, turn the game.
Yeah, I already know what it is. It's another episode of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. And let's start with our intro, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I told you we were going to have someone special this week. We're coming close to the end of our season, but we got them here.
Gotta be perfect, you just gotta get started. Don't overthink it. Just go where your heart is, turn your dreams and your goals. Let your goals shape how you live. Success is inevitable if you're willing to give up your old self to become someone new, to be the true you. Never be afraid to do you in front of the critics, sideline judges, non-believers, people holding their grudges. Appreciate the hate. It comes with the winning. When your wise making the money, you're unstoppable from the beginning. Your excuses are useless. Let your actions be part of the solution and watch the income it produces. Recognize greatness, a supreme revelation. Years of blood, sweat, and tears to become an overnight sensation. Can't do it alone. I should have said this first. Teamwork always makes the dream work. Teamwork always makes the dream work.
You already know what it is. It's another Monday of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. And yes, as perfect as I tried to be, again, technical difficulties to start, but it doesn't matter because we have in the house our big sis, someone who I have been just amazed in her walk, Miss Dawn Godshall. So, Dawn, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you. But I don't think everyone knows who is Dawn Godshall.
Well, one, thank you for having me. I appreciate your inviting me to be on your show. I am a wife of 12 years to my current husband. I am a mother of two amazing Black men who have the biggest hearts in the universe. And I am grandmother to six grandchildren, the oldest one 19, the youngest one a year and a half.
That is awesome. And speaking so humbly, because I love that she talked about family first. Wear a big hat, right? And you spoke about family. So family must be paramount to everything that you're doing.
Well, I'm going to change that up a bit because, first and foremost, I am a believer, a Christian who loves the Lord. So it's my God first,
Amen.
and then my family, and then my work.
Amen. Amen. I'll take that all day. Amen. Yes. Because you wear a big hat. You the CEO of CALV.
Correct. Community Action Lehigh Valley.
That is a huge organization. I don't think everyone realizes everything it does because I don't. And I've been pretty close to some of the things like you guys are responsible from everything from the food pantry, these other food pantries, to how many programs, do you town Bethlehem and Easton?
We do. We're actually in 6 counties. So, Community Action Lehigh Valley is a nonprofit anti-poverty organization. First and foremost, we want people better and to give them money. So we want to teach them how to fish, not give them a fish. It is a really big deal, especially of food insecurity. So Second Harvest Food Bank. I don't have, by the way, I don't have an elevator speech because we do so much. It's hard to get it all out in
Yes.
one sentence. But Second Harvest Food Bank is our largest program. Last year, we distributed 16 million pounds of food in
Hold-
6 counties.
Hold on, let me stop. Boom, 16 million pounds of food.
In 6 counties. So Lehigh, Northampton, Monroe, Wayne, Carbon, and Pike.
That is awesome.
And that food goes to over 200 pantries. So we're the bank and we distribute food to the pantries in the area. So 200, over 200 pantry partners get food from Second Harvest Food Bank.
And that is so awesome because I don't think people realize that that's a lot of food,
It is.
because I've seen you take a lot of darts, and you wear it well, you know.
Maybe on the outside.
Right? But if people, I don't think people realize like 16 million pounds of food, and that may be your largest program, but that's just one program, you know.
We have many others. We have the Sixth Street Shelter in Allentown, which has 25 different apartments to sort of help homeless families that have children under the age of 18. We will take the entire family. We'll take grandma if she's a part of the family. It can be families of any composition. We make sure that we want them to have the dignity of not having to share bathrooms and bedrooms and facilities with kitchens with other strangers. So we give them their own apartment and they have, the security of being in a place themselves while they work to get themselves back on their feet. We have community development programs like Community Action Development Allentown, Community Action Development Bethlehem, Slate Belt Rising. I know you're very involved with CADA. You help lead their youth entrepreneurship program, and we're very grateful because there are a lot of youth who have come out of that program better off knowing how to start their own businesses. So that's really appreciated as well.
I'm humbled. It's been a blessing, really to do that, with your organization, right? Because I'm one of those people who also say I'm anti-poverty. I say poverty is violence.
I've heard you say it.
Because I think a lot of times we spend too much of our energy focusing on the symptoms, right? Like gang violence, gun violence, instead of focusing on cause, right? If I have something to do with my time, right, I will not have the time to sell a drug or rob a person. If I am in a space where I'm celebrated, right, for just being me, you know. But I I love that your organization has given space for so many people to grow, right? There are a lot of bright uh, plants, right, that have sprouted all over the valley. That if that seed wasn't first watered as CALV, some of these other organizations wouldn't have got to see how great these people are. So I want to give you a congratulations you know for that, because it's easy to dig, right?
Well, I can't take all the credit.
Right, you have a
My
great team.
predecessor
Yes.
started a lot of
Yes.
this. He was
Yes.
in his role for 41 years, and
Yes.
so those were big shoes to fill. Mine were just hype. So.
And I'm glad that you mentioned your predecessor. He did spend almost 40 years in that seat, right? So walking into that seat, there was a lot of pressure, right? One, for that was his seat for so long, and then two, there's a shift in gender and race.
Yeah.
You know, was how did you first navigate that pressure? And second, how are you now finding your way, thriving through it?
Well, navigating it wasn't easy. I came in at the end of the pandemic, and I won't even say that the pandemic, because a lot of the residual effects that came about because of pandemic have just continued, or in some cases gotten worse. So, for instance, at Second Harvest Food Bank, at the time of right before the pandemic, we were serving about 65 people a month. During the pandemic and after, we're serving over 100,000 people a month. That's a huge increase. As that went on, we we see that number hasn't changed. That number has gotten worse, and it has continued. So during COVID, we had a lot of funding coming in because people were trying to help their neighbors. As the pandemic started to transition and end, people were still coming to the food pantries to get food. And so but the funding wasn't flowing in as it did during the pandemic. So you have increased need, which is still happening today, and you have less funding than you did during the pandemic. So we're trying to navigate how do we continue to serve our neighbors the way they deserve to be served, especially during this climate that is clawing back funding and trying to make sure that so many of the services that were out there for people are now going away.
Yes, because that's so important, right? Because we can't lose the service when you serve the people. So how are you getting balancing that act? Are you looking for more supporters? How do you lead the charge in this tough time?
Well, currently we have had to lay off a quarter of our staff, which is really hard to make those kinds of decisions. They're business decisions. Many of those people that we had to lay off were good working staff. But when millions of dollars of funding were zeroed out or clawed back, we had to make those kinds of decisions so that we can continue to help as many people as we possibly can.
And I don't think people realize that you go to zero. Because I know people point fingers,
Mhm.
right? And it's easy to point a finger when someone loses a job, but I know you lose sleep
Oh,
over losing a job. And I know, because I've been blessed to get to know you a little personally. So I know you don't feel good when you have to say to someone that this isn't, especially being an anti-poverty organization. But when you go from million to zero, right? Those are those are the hard decisions that
absolutely.
you make.
Absolutely. Our weatherization program, for one, is one of our 11 programs, helps people in times of inclement weather. So, whether it's in the severe heat, we had many heat waves over the summer. We had programs that were able to put air conditioning in homes of this, elderly and people who had chronic conditions that they could not survive if we had not been, as well as during the winter months when it's severely cold, we will go in and fix people's their heaters and systems so that they are able to be comfortable in their home. The weather parts of the weatherization program, LIHEAP, were zeroed out in the federal budget. So those people who might need oil for their homes because they can't afford it, those people who might need their heating systems to be repaired because it's not working, what will they do moving forward now that these programs have been zeroed out?
And people don't realize how real that is, especially coming into the winter. And that's why I love also that way to fish programs. Because way to fish programs allow people to ways to earn and subsidize things that should be just regular life.
Yeah.
You know, but wow, because I those are things that we just don't think about. What when we think about why doesn't Johnny have a job today? It's not just at CALV. If there's no LIHEAP, those people lost jobs
Oh,
too.
absolutely. We employ contractors who go and do those jobs. So those contractors will now get less work or be out of work because the funding is not no longer there to be able to support them. So you look at the food crisis when, if they're cutting SNAP or putting requirements on people who get certain subsidies, the stores are going to have less people shopping in them. So therefore the prices of groceries will go up. Like all of these things have a domino effect in our community.
And organizations like yourself, which fight so hard, can't do it alone.
No, no, we need the community. We need, they always, you talk about time, talent, and treasure. And so even if a person cannot donate to an organization, donate your time, go in, volunteer, go teach. You teach kids how to be entrepreneurs. There's so many people who can go into our homeless shelter and teach those kids, how to use computers, how to, do various things in our community. Take whatever career is and teach those kids how to be or do or be better citizens. And so it's not always about money. Sometimes it's about what you can do to teach what you have inside of you.
I love that you're reiterating that because I think a lot of times people think the only thing they can give is money. I think a lot of times time is definitely worth more than money because if I can give an hour of your time, right, that allows me an hour to think about something else or an hour to do something else. Like now, our babies that you talk about in the entrepreneurship program, I get a little bit more time because they've grown. Because some of them have been with us for 3 years. So we just got to see our first group of babies graduate high school last year, right? Our next group is graduating this year. So now they actually are leading these things that we would talk about, like you know Leon, who's our lead student right now. um he got two
I know,
grants.
I heard about them.
Like, and you know he was on a leadership call this earlier today, with my mentor, um telling his story. And all I could do was just blush, right? Being this shy kid, to say, hey, he's like, Nick, give me something done that you're proud of. He's like, I would say I'm proud of getting it, but we got two this year. He's like,
Nice.
and next week, because the 25th is his block party. So he gets to see now he's not only uh he got to pay his peers, right? Because they're all speaking and involved, and this grant allowed for him to pay his peers.
Nice.
So seeing the growth that we, from the mustard seed, right, of faith. Because when I started working with your organization, I had left one, and you had to have faith in me because do you continue to work with a guy working by himself, and good that we've done, the growth that we've seen, you know. Kaisha is one of our other students. Alan's senior president, class
Nice.
president.
Wow.
Babe. I think she won homecoming cream. Wow, I don't get to see those things, but I know she's class president.
Nice.
And these are babies that we've been able to plant seeds in who were not the usual suspects, right? It's she's a great student now, and but these aren't the students that everyone would have said, hey, these are the ones that you're gonna get,
Yeah. And
right?
what's important is that every success story in a student is usually because someone cared enough to bring them along, to show them something that they didn't know. I had those kinds of people in my life because I grew up in foster homes. I grew up without parents from a very young age. And so, but there was always a teacher or a mentor or someone who said, there's something about you that I want to help you. I want to cultivate that. And so it is through that cultivation that you're giving those students, and that every teacher who wants to see them succeed gives them, that kind of pushes them along to help them in their career path.
That's amazing, because I don't want to skip past that. You said you came through the foster care system, because you're now the CEO, making making hard decisions over a multi organization. So there's a foster kid right now whose light just lit up.
I
You
hope so.
know, to know,
Yeah,
right? I can do it,
absolutely.
right? You know, because you said you didn't have the same. So I can say I was overly loved. You know, so I can't say that I didn't have. I made mistakes because I just chose to. Like
We all do.
yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
I was like, "What you gonna do today? We gonna trip? We're gonna fall?" That's what we. But you didn't have that same support system. You had teachers. I bet you found love because that just seems like who you are. But it wasn't like you didn't come home to my overbearing mother, who I still, hope you didn't see that, mom. Man, love you, baby. Like you didn't come home to that, you know, and you found success, right?
Well, eventually, like I had gone into many foster homes and then landed on a couple who they were only 10 years older than me. So they were not even old enough to be my parents, but they took me in and they loved me like I was their own. And it wasn't until I went to college that they started having children of their own. So that last foster family, after having been through many, they were just wonderful people, and I consider them my parents to this day.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome because, like I said, look at the spark that they lit, and how many candles you've lit after.
Well, I hope so. This job has made my hair grayer than I think it should be, though I do use a box to color. Um, Actually, my who does my hair, he would not be happy to hear me say
No.
that I use a box. But gray hairs and sleepless nights and a lot of prayer is what gets me through doing what I do. I truly, truly believe that I would not be able to do this if I did not have faith.
And I'm so glad that you say that because um, I think that is probably the most important thing in running a business, running life, right? Is true faith. I I choose to serve, through Christianity, but I'm not going to tell anyone what God they should serve, but find one.
Find the right one.
Find the right one, right? And pray, right? Pray, pray because faith is so important,
Absolutely.
especially in today's times. We're now in one of the fastest information ages,
Oh, absolutely.
where things are literally changing so quickly. Like I was talking to my partner about how everyone's so excited about Suno, right? In the same day dropped Suno, OpenAI dropped a whole nother program that was what you really supposed to be. But everybody's so focused on Suno, they got distracted. With OpenAI opened up a way to start really that could log into your computer, do other things for you in your computer. I was like, oh my goodness, but it's so important to have faith because you can get lost in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to tell you, I had not really been into AI a few years ago when it started getting really big. It was you who emailed me or texted me or something and said, I think we need to get more kids involved in AI. And I remember thinking, I better learn about it before I go trying to get kids into it. But I thank you because you had that vision ahead of many other people who, just aren't up on those types of things. So
Oh,
it's great.
and it's funny because our kids still use it now. Like we got our kids teaching. We taught our kids AI early, and they used it building lines and so many different things. But I just didn't want us to fall behind
Yeah,
the digital again. Like
absolutely.
we, most of us missed the internet bubble, the Bitcoin bubble. We can't afford cause every 6 months put you about five behind. So it's important that our kids get excited to be creative,
Yeah. Yep.
and I think I'm grateful that I think CALV has allowed us to do right to allow more kids to be excited
Yeah.
about being creative. You know, because how do you build tomorrow's leaders? I think that's how we do them. You
Absolutely.
know,
We have a really great program called Generation Next
yes, you do.
that helps to encourage high school students to get into college or vocational or trade because everybody's not meant to go to college.
Hmm.
Some people, my husband, for one, for instance, he had his own, he went into vocational training
Hmm.
and he had his own mechanics business for 35 years. So if you can find that niche, whatever it is, whether it's college or whether it's a vocation or trade, and you can help push kids into the thing that interests them, that is what they will thrive in. It is a blessing to be able to go to a job every day that you love because it
Hmm.
doesn't feel like.
Hmm. Even when it's stressful right now,
Absolutely.
right? Because you work to be here, right? It wasn't a mistake. You didn't fall out of the sky, right? You worked to be here, and at times there's the blessing, and then there's the burden, right? But it's a for little black and brown girls to see you lead. That's an inspiration because they can identify with a real life superhero.
Well, thank you. I'm humbled that you would say that, but thank you.
Yes, I mean, you run a large organization. You just said 6 counties you serve, 16 million pounds of food you gave away, coming from a foster care background. You are an inspiration to a lot of different people that are walking. So when the crown gets too heavy, right? Because heavy is the
Yeah.
head that wears the crown, right? When the crown gets too heavy, remember that you're lighting a path behind you that
Thank
no
you.
one else can light.
Thank you. I don't always look at it that way. Sometimes, you're so much in the throes of what's happening and going on around you. And you're right. People are very quick to assume, that they know, and it's a lot of work. I have a wonderful team at Community Action that really work hard to make sure that we can serve the people that we set out to serve. You're on one of our boards for Rising Tide, and so Rising Tide Community Loan Fund helps new businesses get started in our community. They are, many of the businesses up and down 7th Street in Allentown and throughout the valley got their start from a loan from Rising Tide. And whether it's that they got their start that way or they expanded their business, you know, the small businesses are what makes up most of these United States of America. Yes, you have your Walmarts and Targets, various things, but so many restaurants and small businesses that make our society what it is. We would not be able to survive without your small businesses. So there's so much of what we do that is really important to our community, to our neighbors, to people who want to thrive and do a little bit better and be able to leave some generational wealth to their families.
I love that you say that because I don't think people realize how many hands you have, because Rising Tide is an amazing program, and they are here truly to provide not just money, because we always think as businesses we need money. And yes, we do need money. Pay me, big, happy consultant. No, 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 we all do need money. But sometimes, right, resources, information, connection, marketing skills are more important at times than just the money. If someone can teach me something that can save me some money, right? That's just as good as giving me some money. And I think a lot of businesses miss that because we're looking for funding. And I'm looking for funding. No, 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 but because we are always in that grind, even as CALV, as you're giving out funding, you're looking for funding, right?
We have to constantly replenish what we have. When I talked about generational wealth, one of the we have a community action, a housing counseling program that helps people to buy their first homes. And it takes them through a process of making sure their credit is straight and getting them to a point where they can buy a home so that they can leave generational wealth to their families. Many of us, because of a lot of the systemic things that were in place for many years, did not, we rented most of our lives. We did not have something to leave behind to our children. It's time that we realize how important that is, that you leave to your children so that they can leave to their children, and so on and so on and so
I love this, right? Ownership. That's one of the things we don't talk about enough in our community. Ownership. Ownership of our real property, ownership of now something called intellectual property, right? Ownership. To know what that looks like, to know how to protect it, right? So I love that you're talking about you teach, because a lot of us go into places and we lose money because we don't know.
yeah.
You know, my
Or we never taught our children. So I don't know how your household was, but we feel like, what's happening in our households, we is private. We don't, if
Mhm.
we're struggling, we don't tell our kids. We keep all that private. We don't teach them how to manage a checkbook or how to manage budgets and finances. And so they end up making the same mistakes that we made. And so it's important that we bring our children in and discuss things that will affect them later in life.
Oh, definitely. My kids will tell you, Daddy told me when he was broke, when he was struggling, like he let us know because it was important. Because I think a lot of us as parents, and this is just me, you know, we wear a lot on our shoulders, and and then we take it out because we're not talking to them. My kids they've been part of the solution since they were born. We're gonna sell some waters today, gentlemen. like, ladies and gentlemen, shoot by teaching them little things like that. I still remember. I think my son was 11, and they sold waters for the summer, and he bought all his own school clothes. He's like, Dad, I'm taking Mom on vacation. I'm like, you taking your mother on vacation? He's like, yeah, we're gonna go here. And he got to their vacation and he pulled out a wad of singles. And they're looking at him. He's like, I saved my tips all summer for this.
Nice.
Right. And I was like, man.
And how did that make him feel?
Oh, it made him feel amazing, right? But and that's one of the things that any child like, and I say that to tell parents, share the struggle if you're in the struggle, because they may have a solution. Like my kids had solutions, because my daughter was like, Daddy, I'll draw this. That gonna sell? I'm gonna sell it, Daddy. Let's go. But and it also brought togetherness, right? Because we're not fighting and struggling alone, right? We're in this together. So I love that you mentioned that, because it allows us to tell a family, don't cry in the dark. You know, Lil Johnny he may have the golden voice. He may be the next Tevin Campbell, but let that boy sing. you know, don't try to momager, but let that boy sing. You know, um,
We need to encourage our children to be solutions oriented,
yes,
not just talk about the problems, but how can we figure it out?
yes, and I think that's one of the greatest things that I can say we've gotten to do together. Um, we've allowed more children to become solution oriented in their homes. Some of our kids are first generation entrepreneurs, first generation business owners. I have kids that taught their parents how to balance a checkbook,
Nice.
right? Because they are getting paid. So, because CALV paid our children when that's why y'all donate. They pay. No, no, seriously. No, our photographers, when we said we were doing youth events, they allowed us to actually hire youth. So for years, we've been hiring these youth once they've gotten to a point. Youth photographers, videographers, youth content creators, outside of just, the many clothing lines. We've launched probably 5 or 6 clothing lines.
And even help them to get their LLC.
LLCs. Some of our babies have changed. I'm away till I'm 18. I'm not sitting. I'm not sharing with my mommy. Leon, Leon changed it. Hey, it's like we gonna be 18 real soon. So we got 3 that we've just recently helped open up their. They've changed over their LLCs because they're not 18. You know, and they said, you know, thank goodness they said youth in your program doesn't end till 24. So we got 6 years. And I'm like, but now they're teaching.
Yeah.
You know, some babies have literally taught entrepreneurship to their peers. And we facilitated those classes in an office that CALV pays for.
Nice.
Right there, 215 North Ninth Street. They were able to teach classes. And it was amazing, right, to see 4 or 5 students that came through our program teach a room so full of students that they recruited, promoted, which is all we did literally was provide the snacks and open up the doors.
Those are the kinds of stories that are important to tell. Those are the things that make me most proud of the work that we do at CALV.
Yeah, because think about that. Like 3 years ago, if we said, shout out to, I'm going to give a young man, Gabi Alante, right? This young man was shy, in his shell, you know, would have never been who he's blessed to be now if there wasn't a CALV program. His clothing line rivals anyone's. Like, rappers was seeing it like, what was that? And he was 16 at the time. It's like, that's mine. And I'm like, there you go, And also because we were able to also give them a space to sell it with us doing the Ultimate Streetwear Expo, which is also a partnership, mainly with CALV. Because what happened was the kids said, we went through this. Now, where do we sell it?
Yeah.
You know, online is great, but where do we sell it? Here. And so
Giving them experience now that they can use now and
for
for
the
the rest
rest of
of
their
their lives.
lives,
Amen.
for the rest of their lives, because these clothing lines that they sell right now, they choose to sell them off later or close them down. They've learned real skills that are actionable in any business. They've learned how to put together a campaign, like that was amazing, right? Campaign, how to run an event, how to market, promote, how to design. They've some of these kids have been everywhere from Palm School of the Arts, so they learned real design, to all kinds of things because of CALV. So that's an amazing thing.
And even if they do sell off their lines later on in life, that you can just start another one. That is
Mm-hmm.
how a lot of business
Yes.
owners, break out into being millionaires. You sell,
And
become,
stuff. Mm-hmm.
sell your stock as public, or you sell it to
Yes.
someone and you can start something else. But those are the ways that they
Yes.
branch out and become successful. And that's a
Yes.
proud moment.
Yes. And we're creating a creative economy. So it's not just one or two things. Now you're supporting some painters. We got a we got a paint art gallery show for
Yeah.
youth, because those are the kids that we're touching, and they get to lead these things. So you know when you wear your crown, right? I want you to remember, right, the candles that you've lit so far behind, right? Because when you walk into those rooms that may not smile at you like we do, right? You have to, it's sometimes easy to forget there are candles that are way down the road, twinkling, right?
I,
Cheering for you.
I think it's really important that our Black and Brown community also aren't so hard on one another. We have to learn, in the words of Rodney King, to get along. We
Hmm.
have to give grace to one another, to fail and to succeed, and then
Hmm.
but to keep supporting each other along the way.
Hmm.
I think that there's just too much infighting, not necessarily supportive of one another, and even when you disagree, agree to disagree and keep it moving.
I agree. I think in this community, we think in lack. And that is what harms us more. There's enough for all of us, even when there's not enough, right? Because if we work together, we can achieve more. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Look at Black Wall Street,
Yeah.
but what happened to it?
Yeah.
We need to pay attention to all of our history,
Yes.
even though it's some people are trying to erase. We need to pay attention.
Yes. And what I love so much is that it has been a bridge, right, under troubled waters, because we bring so many people together. You know, we don't just serve little black kids. We don't just serve little brown kids. We
Serve the
serve
entire community.
we serve them all. If you are in our vicinity, if you are struggling, like our kids are struggling, we breathe hope into them all. Love that we've seen so many other organizations grow because of that hope. You know, Generational Guidance is now growing, which is run by Quill. We've seen, you know, Fine Feather get to there, because you guys were one of the first people to invest in Andrine and the. I had her on the show. She said they're now touching 700 kids.
Super proud of her.
Like 700 kids. You know, so to see, like I said, those candles down the road, don't forget that they're there flickering, right? Cheering you on.
I appreciate that.
Because it's when you wear a heavy hat, because you run the largest independent nonprofit in our area. You're not the United Way, which is a machine, which is a great machine, not to take anything away from the machine. You know, you you still gotta get it out the mud.
Ooh,
Alan had some fertile soil, but you still gotta continue to get it out the mud every year, and the mud right now, and it's sort of hard with this government right now. There's some hard right gotta chisel through, right, get through the mud.
I have faith that we okay. It's going to take some transforming to do. Our annual meeting, which is coming up next month at Wind Creek, it's a luncheon annual meeting from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. On November 19th. And
Are those tickets people can buy?
they are tickets people can buy. And our theme this year is transformation. So we're going to talk about some of the things we've had to do to change and pivot and mold. But, just because you've changed and pivoted, many times you become different and better at the same time.
That's that's amazing, But we've talked, the time goes quickly. So I want to make sure we tell them how they can donate, where they can find you, because we're already 45 minutes in.
Okay. Our website is communityactionlv.org. We are located, our main office is located in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Our phone number is 610-691-5620. You can call our offices. You can speak to me, or you can ask to speak to any of the programs that might help or benefit anybody in our community, whether it's that you need housing or food, or you want your kids, or your kids want to get into college, or any kind of a program. We still do some authorization. We help people to buy their first homes. We help them to start new businesses. We're always looking for people who want to volunteer or to donate. Or if we don't do it, we will try to point you in the direction of someone in our community, another organization that does do whatever it is that people need. We don't want to just be here for us. We're here for everyone, and we want to make sure that people get the services that they need to not just survive, but to thrive.
I love that. I love that. I love that you said that too, because collaboration is so important. You know, um, and when you're as big as an organization as CALV is, I don't think people realize how willing your organization is to collaborate, you know, because you can't do it alone.
Oh, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. We partner with through a lot of our different subsidiaries like CADA and CADB, which is Community Action Development, Allentown and Bethlehem. We help other smaller nonprofits to make sure that they're okay, to help them do some of the programming that they do. We don't want to do it alone. We can't do everything. So if we partner with those other nonprofit community who are already doing the work, we're not trying to duplicate it. We just want to support them.
And that is so amazing because understanding, right? Community, right? Because the first word in your name is community, and to really live into that by partnering and filtering and working and sharing and pointing when it's not within your vicinity, because that is community, right? I think, and this is one of the things you've heard me say a lot, like we can't even spell community without unity,
Absolutely.
you know. So when you were talking about the division here, it starts with us,
It does.
right? You know, each one of us being responsible, and holding someone accountable that you know is divisive for no reason.
And just even reaching out to one another to check on each other to
Mm-hmm.
see, are you okay?
Yeah,
Do you need anything?
yeah,
That's important too.
yeah. And everybody knowing their roles too, right? You know, I'm Peter. So at any time, you know, and I know who I am, right? So it is, you know, you're never alone, right? And it's so wonderful to know that, right? Because when we know we're not alone, and also to know our role when we're not alone, you know, it allows us to just be a little bit stronger, you know. So part of this show is to, you know, let people know who Dawn Godshall was, but to also let Dawn Godshall know when she walks into these rooms, she's walking on the shoulders of her ancestors if she is not alone.
Thank you.
You know, there are candles, there are candles that are lit, you know, and you know, to the work that you continue to do. And we thank Alan. You know, we're gonna give him his name because we didn't say his name. I'm gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. But you know, we thank Alan because Alan did great work and continues to do stuff behind the scenes. It's still great work, you know, and
Brilliant man.
great man, you know. And but you are in the fire, you know, and when you're in the fire, you know, people don't see you always being bronzed. Most time they want to see you be bronzed. So I wanted you to know, there's some bronzers over here.
Well, I think you can't get to pure gold without it being going through the fire. So gold is purified in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of heat. And
Mm-hmm.
so is my desire in life, though it doesn't feel comfortable and it's not always fun. I do get to see um, the the beauty that comes out of the things that we do at Community Action, the heartache and the issues that get us there are really difficult sometimes. It's not an easy process. I think those who are closest to me see, my hurt and my heartache when things don't go exactly as I would have liked them to. But we are not, down. We stand back up and we plan to keep moving as long as we are able. And with my faith and my friends and my staff who work their tails off to do what we do, we will come through this as pure gold.
And I definitely agree with you. You have some really dedicated people, um, especially your program leaders over the many different programs. I've been blessed to work in a few of them, but I've met many of them. And whoever chooses that hat, you know, they wear their crowns, you know, very proudly. You know, they serve, you know, intently, you know. So those times when you aren't as loved, remember, you know, you do have soldiers, right?
I got a lot of them.
You know, that are, you know, walking with you, you know, and that's so important. So the time goes by fast. So if you want to donate time, energy, money, right? CALV.org.
It's communityactionlv.org.
So communityactionlv.org. So communityactionlv.org. You want to make sure that you go there. You know, you can donate towards the main organization. You can donate towards a program station. So if there's, we've talked about a few brands, but there's still stuff we didn't cover. That's how much they do. You know, so if there's something that you find resonates with your heart, please give of yourself. And I say, whatever you can give is always more than enough. You know,
Always welcome.
I was giving me last $3 and then apologizing. And I called her back and I said, that was the most important $3 I've ever gotten. And she said, why? I said, because you told me it was your last.
It's
And you,
like the widow woman who
yeah,
gave her of her last.
yes, you thought our program was so good that you can give me your last. That's more important than the person that can give me $1 million and he has 35 more.
Well, that's important too.
We need you too. Or we're not running away. Yeah. So the 35 million, you know, give us if you can give us 12, you know what I mean? You know. But yes, we're grateful, right? For having you here. We're grateful, right, that you were able to share. We're grateful that you were able to really inspire someone because there is a little black or brown child. There is a little foster child that has no color, right? Who's going to say, I can do it because Dawn did it.
I hope
Right?
so.
Right? This God did because we never know, right? The candles that we light way down the road because we set a spark, right, to that first fuse.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
It was an honor.
yes, and our time is almost 2 minutes. So I'm gonna to do what we've asked all of us to do, and that's my personal manifesto with me.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it first through, and then we'll do a call and response because it's sort of
Okay.
long. My personal manifesto goes like this: I love me. I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here.
Oh, I like that.
I love me.
I love me.
I'm worthy.
I'm worthy.
Some people may not like me,
Some people may not like me,
but I don't care
but I don't care
because the people that matter
because the people that matter
will be glad that I'm here.
will be glad that I'm here.
And
Amen.
we are glad that you spent this hour with us, Dawn. We are grateful that we got to actually give you, right, some sparks behind those feet so you know that you're never alone. We are grateful that you were able to tell the people about the great work that CALV is doing. We're even more wonderful that you told us about your history so that we can inspire more youth, right? Someone today is going to say, I can do it. I don't have to be perfect.
And I'm not.
All right. I I am I am good enough, right? And you are great.
Thank you.
So we are thankful that
Thank
you
you.
spent this hour with us. Right. This was another hour of you don't have to be perfect. Next week we still bringing the heat. Next week we have Dr. Carol Burks coming out of the woodworks.
One of my dear
So
friends.
yes, we are, you know, very grateful. These two amazing leaders back to back. Well, we are here. So thank you. Thank you. You don't have to be perfect, but you still have it.
Amen.
Amen. And we are almost